He was the American dream, really. I mean, he sort of embodies that kid who comes from absolutely nothing, raised in Tupelo, and then becomes the most famous man on the planet, and then he also embodied so many eras of time. You know, I mean, it feels like he lived 100 years, but it's amazing that he was only here for 42. But the fact that you can see him in the 50s as this young, vibrant 19-year-old kid, and you look on the Dorsey Brothers performances or on the Ed Sullivan Show and Milton Berle, and it feels like that's a whole other life from the 60s and all the films that he did in that time, and from 68 Special, and then the 70s feel like this whole other era. So he spends so much time, and it's such a fascinating thing that somebody to have that sort of mark on this world. I'll drop everything and I'm just gonna obsess. I'm gonna allow myself to obsess. And so I just started reading and watching everything I could on Elvis's life and on his friends and on his relationships, and listened to only his music, and I just treated it as though I already had the job. And so this was January 2 years ago. And then by about February, they hadn't even started auditioning yet, and I sent Baz a video of me playing the piano and singing Unchained Melody. You want to do them justice, and you want to honor them and their life, and then you add on top of that somebody who is so iconic and who everybody knows, and who so many people have paid tribute to or impersonated, and that is, it's hard not to feel like a little kid in your dad's suit, like you're wearing these really big shoes that you can hardly walk in, and that was something that for a long time I thought it was impossible. The fact that his energy was so massive, he was such an extraordinary human being that he almost seems superhuman, that he seems larger than life itself, and that's something that I've had so many people help me with over this process. I mean, starting with Baz and Catherine Martin and Polly Bennett with movement, and dialect coaches, and everyone down the line. There's just been such an incredible team supporting this whole process. And it's been that thing of how do you climb Mount Everest, but just one step at a time. We went to Nashville and Memphis, and we recorded in RCA where Elvis recorded, I forgot how many songs it is now, but I want to say 240 songs or something in Studio B there, and so we recorded there, and it's also where Dolly Parton recorded Jolene. It was my first time ever in a recording studio, and I was so nervous, and I was with some of the best musicians in Nashville, and standing there where Elvis had recorded, and we had the actual machine that he had recorded Heartbreak Hotel on, and I recorded Heartbreak Hotel in there, and Blue Suede Shoes, and Hound Dog, and to say it was surreal is an understatement. It was beyond anything I could have comprehended, you know, and it's just such an amazing experience. And there were moments in that where Baz actually said, it's my first day ever in a recording studio, and he said, all right, I want you to turn, rather than have the microphone facing the band, I'm going to turn you away from them, and we're going to get all the people from the offices of RCA to come out and be in the audience, and you're going to sing to them in Blue Suede Shoes. I was so incredibly nervous. I felt absolutely nauseous, but it was moments like that where you have to walk into the fire. Baz really is truly one of my favorite people. I'm gonna get emotional right now. He's such a kind, empathetic, loving, caring individual who is, on top of that, just a genius in every sense of the word. But he doesn't rest on that either. He works so hard, and he prepares, and his attention to detail is unlike anyone else. And he's so supportive. And no matter who it is, whether it's the person sweeping the sets, or the people making the sets, or me, or any of the actors, or anybody on set, he's so kind, and if he has a direction for anybody, he finds a way of doing it in such a positive way. He never admonishes anybody, and so the entire set everybody feels welcome, and you feel like you're free to make mistakes and free to try things, and so there's an environment where you can feel fear, but you know that you're safe. I think understanding some of Colonel's background is really fascinating with their relationship. The fact that he's a carny at heart, you know, and so always looking for the newest attraction, the thing that's going to draw audiences into the carnival, and I think when he saw Elvis, that's what he saw in him. I mean, Colonel started with Dancing Chickens, and then eventually, you know, to see the way that audiences reacted to Elvis, I think it was the greatest attraction he'd ever seen. They had this really symbiotic relationship, and that was great in the beginning, because Colonel was a genius at marketing, at being able to get Elvis on television. I mean, it's remarkable to think what would have happened if Elvis never met the Colonel. We may not know him. You know, he was locally famous, but would he have ever shot to superstardom in that way? I don't know, because there's a lot of artists around that same time who didn't make it out of the 50s, and so that I think that they definitely needed each other in the beginning. I think that it got to a certain point where it became sort of a toxic relationship, and Elvis's loyalty to the Colonel may have been misguided, but it's a tricky thing when you're really on the inside of it, because I mean, you talk to Priscilla now, and I know Tom's talked about this, but how they all really loved the Colonel. They had a lot of nice things to say about him. I mean, they would sort of call him a con man, but then at the same time they said, well, he would remember your birthday, and he'd always send you a cake on your birthday, and it's really funny to be around, and so a lot of people really loved him. And I think Elvis did love him as a father. I was nervous and afraid of the big numbers with tons of extras. To go out there and perform in front of a lot of people. Before I had done it, I was filled with terror at that idea. And I actually spoke to Rami Malek about it, and he said, you know, those days will probably end up becoming your favorite days. And he said that he was terrified about them in the beginning too, but they ended up becoming his. And he could not be more right about that. They were so, I was terrified every time before going out there. But it was, once those first couple takes are down, and Elvis said it as well, he would say, once those first couple songs, once you do them and you kind of realize, okay, nobody's gonna throw a rock at me, like it's all okay. Then you feel that connection and you feel how you can play with the audience, and it becomes incredibly, it was, there were days, I didn't want the days to be over. We had the most incredible prosthetics team and hair team, and Catherine Martin leading everything to do with everything that I wear in the film, and just an absolutely brilliant team of people coming together, and it helps massively. When you look in the mirror and you start to see the transformation, and it makes you feel different. It really does. Or if I have a little bit of weight on me, it makes you walk differently, and makes you breathe differently, and that in turn makes you truly feel different emotionally. And I hope they have a good time and connect to music that maybe they didn't know before, or have an experience where they get to see it through new eyes. Or I hope that they come out feeling more vibrant and hopeful. Yola was amazing. She not only is her performance so incredible, she has one of the most powerful voices I've ever heard. And she, between takes, she would give me vocal coaching. So she would say, this is a technique that I use, and she was wonderful. We had a really good time, and she really she crushed that role. Shanka is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. She's so incredibly gracious and soft-spoken and gentle, and then you see her sing Hound Dog, and she comes out with so much power. It's amazing to witness. Her performance of Hound Dog in that was the type of thing where everybody who wasn't filming that day showed up because they knew she was going to be singing it. And so I was doing something else on a different set, and I came over just to see her sing that, and it was unbelievable. She's wonderful. I met Alton for the first time with Baz at this awards show in Australia. And Baz, we'd seen him, he won some award, like Model of the Year award or something. And we saw him at the after party, and he was in this silver lame one-piece outfit and he was dancing, and the way he was dancing was so remarkable. And Baz looked at me at one point, he said, "I think that's Little Richard." And sure enough, he came down, and he really, he worked so hard on the choreography and on all of Richard's movements and stuff, and it was really impressive. I was really, really impressed by him, and he's just a remarkably ethereal man. I really enjoyed my time with him. I was such a huge Gary Clark Jr. fan before this, and so I was really excited when I knew he was coming on board. And then he showed up, and nobody really plays guitar like him. He's so incredible, and he'd learned these new techniques that were, well, old techniques, but the way that Big Boy Crudup played, and he was just amazing. And so I was kind of a fanboy. I was there just watching him play, and he's incredible. And his rendition of that song as well is outstanding. And then between takes, we'd be in one of the back rooms, and he had this old guitar that was, I think it was a 120-year-old guitar or something like that. And he picked it up and he said, "You want to play it?" And So I played it, and he goes, you know, this is a little thing that I do on blues scales, and he starts teaching me the guitar, and that was one of my fondest memories on the film. Kelvin is, he's an exceptional actor. I was also a fan of his from beforehand, and we've known each other for years, and so I was really looking forward to getting to explore that relationship between B.B. King and Elvis. And I just knew that our dynamic would be a really fun one to get to explore. And he came in with so many ideas and really just knocked it out of the park, and we had a lot of fun together.